we talk so much about AI, we talk so much about how it's changing everything and the opportunity in front of us, but we really need to hold the mirror up. I do as well, and go, what am I doing to make sure I'm using it for myself?
Yes.
And I'm encouraging and supporting my teams to be using it as well.
We believe this time is like no other. We refer to these as the tectonic shifts.
All the hyperscalers in the world, if you add them all together, managed services will be 1.5 times larger.
Because it is the customer buying behavior that has created the need for all of us to rethink our models.
Until we have data quality, the effectiveness of AI cannot be realized, and effectiveness of the partnerships cannot be realized.
Can you figure out first what your purpose is and how Microsoft can support your purpose and how you can support Microsoft purpose? Now we have a partnership. It's the ultimate partnership.
Welcome to the Ultimate Guide to Partnering. I'm Vince Menzione, your host, and my mission is to help leaders like you achieve your greatest results through successful partnering. We just came off Ultimate Partner Live at Microsoft's Redmond campus, our most powerful event yet. Over 2 days, we gathered top leaders to tackle the real shifts shaping our industry. If you weren't in the room, this episode featuring Lori Borg, Microsoft's new Vice President for Go-to-Market, kicks us off for day 2 and brings us right to the edge of what's next. Let's dive in. I have an incredible privilege this morning. We want to have the conversation about embracing change, and I could think of no one better to come on stage with me today than someone who's been around the Microsoft ecosystem and around the community of partnerships her entire career. In fact, we'll talk a little bit about it. I want to save some of the conversation for her. She recently joined Microsoft, like 100 days ago, became a vice president at Microsoft. So she went from being one of you all, like one of us, in the ultimate partner world that we live in, to now being an exec at Microsoft and shaping a very important part of Microsoft's business. You see, if you know anything about how Microsoft is organized, you have the global roles, and Nicole's organization drives it at the global level. But when you get into the Americas, which is where you all sit, whether you're in Canada, Latin America, or the United States, there's an America's business that's very deliberate, very focused on driving success. And within that business, a very, very strong component of that business is go-to-market. It's marketing. Because as you know, being around Microsoft, all the engines, all the support, all the investments that make partners successful, that go-to-market strategy is critically important. So I am thrilled to invite my friend. We've known each other for many years around the partner ecosystem. I can't wait for her to spend some time with us this morning talking about embracing change. Lori Borg is the Vice President of Microsoft America's Go-to-Market for the global partner community. That's a mouthful. A lot of acronyms out there. Lori, I'd love to have you up on stage. Come on up. Come up. So good to see you. So good to see you, my friend. So good. We got to be together.
Hi.
Yeah, we were together just a little, was it a month ago? It seems like 100 years ago, of course. a lot has changed.
Before I sit down, I have to say, who noticed the Ultimate Partner pillows? The amazing attention to detail. I love it.
Thank you.
Yes.
I've got a whole collection of them in my house, by the way. We'll give you a challenge coin and an Ultimate Partner pillow if you sign up today. How's that?
Perfect. And a hat.
And a hat. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You get a hat. Absolutely for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So great to be here with you. So great to be here. And I just want to spend a moment talking about your journey, because it's been incredible. You've had an incredible career in the ecosystem that we know and love.
Yes.
And now you jumped and you came over to the other side.
I did.
Right? So let's talk about it.
I did.
Take us through it.
I would love to ask, before I jump into it, I've been in the Microsoft ecosystem for 26 years, so it's been a minute. And I have some of my peers on my team now at Microsoft celebrating 15, 20, 25 years at Microsoft. And we do a lot to celebrate them inside of Microsoft. Amazing. What I'm curious of is, anybody in the room, have you been in the Microsoft partner ecosystem like 20 plus years? Can you raise your hand? Yes. What about 25 plus years? Keep your hands up. There's several of you. 30 years? Anybody 30 years? Yeah, a few of you. Jeff, yeah. Good. Well, I want to celebrate all those people. Yeah, because we celebrate inside of Microsoft. Yeah. So thank you for choosing Microsoft and for being so committed to the Microsoft ecosystem. Okay, with that, a little bit
So
about
yeah,
my journey.
let's talk about you. Like,
Yeah. So my journey, I started in the late 90s actually with a training company. So
Wow.
back in the CPLS, CTEC days. And that's how I got into the business. I started in sales and sales leadership, but I really had a passion to run a company and to be an entrepreneurial spirit, wanted to build a business. So when I had my first kiddo, I used that as the opportunity to step back from what I was doing and take that big jump
Very
and
cool.
start a Microsoft partner company.
where
So
did that entrepreneurial edge come from? Was it in your DNA?
I
Was
will
it-
tell you, my first little business was when I was 12 and I started teaching
Okay.
piano.
Nice.
So yes,
Very nice.
so it very
Yeah.
much was in my
It's
DNA.
DNA,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's DNA, which I'm sure a lot of you have that same DNA as well, since you're sitting here.
And
as
tell us about
Microsoft
the first
partners.
company that you started.
Yeah, so the company was a systems integrator designed to help software development teams improve how they built software. We were actually Microsoft's first DevOps partner, first gold DevOps partner, so helped shape what that competency looked like back in the day. And I ran that business for 10 years. It was a great company, loved it, and had the opportunity
All through the aughts, right?
to
All through the aughts?
Yeah, had the opportunity to sell the company to another larger firm
Yep.
that was one of Microsoft's largest Azure partners at the time, and I was a partner there and stayed on to help build that business and then sell it again to one of Microsoft's largest global companies.
Yeah, one of the largest GSIs. in
Yeah,
the
one of the
market, yeah.
largest GSIs. So then that took about 13, 14 years out of my career doing kind of that whole sequence of events. And then I had the opportunity to join a BizApps partner and help build the Azure business, and that was incredible. And then now I'm here at Microsoft.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so from small to big and everything in between.
So what did you learn along the journey? Like that you can share with this audience and people watching today, also on live stream,
Yeah.
about embracing change, about like how do you think about working with Microsoft as your largest vendor or partner?
Yeah.
And then how did you do it? Like what did you have to do?
I think a couple of things that come to mind right away for me are around agility. I talk a lot about the importance of agility from two different lenses. One is organizational agility, and the other is technical agility. And it's fairly self-explanatory just by the words in themselves. But when we think about the combination of making sure that your organization is organizationally agile, that you're structured in a way where you can pivot when you need to pivot. When you're tied to a Microsoft funding program and the funding dries up and you need to quick go do something different, or
Yes.
Microsoft rolls out a new solution area or new competency requirements and you need to be able to pivot. So structuring the business in a way that you have that culture where you are organizationally agile is key. The other side of that coin, though, is having that technical agility.
Interesting.
I think it sometimes is easy for us to sit back and not stay on top of that technical intensity that we all need to make sure that we're always learning. We're in the business of technology.
Yeah.
And so making sure that you're creating a culture of technical agility as well as that organizational agility, I think is really critical for Microsoft partners to stay front and center and to stay kind of leading edge with all of the change.
How do you think about agility when you're in the boardroom, when you're running an organization like that? What do you do to stay agile? Like I know that you have like listening mechanisms, but how do you think through it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, in the boardroom and speaking at the executive level, I think a lot of it does, again, come back to creating that culture of agility. And it does need to be created from the top down because it impacts how you invest, the horizons that you're planning things on, the rigor and discipline that you put around processes and activities that you're doing so that you can move quickly if you need to. So I think a lot of it comes down to making sure that you have the right framework and mechanisms in place to be able to move and to ensure and motivate that everyone on the teams are inspired and want to lean in and learn and stay competitive technically.
So critical there, to your point. Like people talk about fail fast, right?
Yes,
that's a
fail
term
fast,
that's used,
yep.
Satya has used many times.
Yeah.
In terms of having a growth mindset, like you've got to be able to accept failure.
Yeah.
And embrace it.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
And avoid the analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Like no analysis paralysis, fail fast and iterate quickly. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what is the opportunity for our partners today? Like, we talked about the fact that they've got to look at embracing change. There's so much that's happening.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk more about the business and all the changes.
Yeah.
I know some of them are still kind of like nestled here. We can't bring everything up to market, but what are you seeing, and what have been your experiences so far in the first 100 days?
Oh, gosh.
Working with these partners, and what would you say to them now
Yeah.
about what we need to go do better and differently?
All right, so I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit on the topic of technical intensity. Some of my team who might be watching, we talk about it a lot. And Satya, I think, coined the phrase technical intensity.
Yes,
I remember watching him talk about it for the first time at, I believe, an Ignite in maybe 2018, somewhere around that time. And the concept of technical intensity really is twofold. Part of it is being intentional about using and staying up with the latest and greatest Microsoft technology. So that's part of it. But the other part of it is using that technology to really create something special and unique IP, baking it into your services and offerings. And I think for all of us at a very personal level, as well as leading our teams and in our organizations, it's critical to have technical intensity at the heart of what we're doing. I will just say very personally, I'm certainly not a technologist, and I need to kind of push myself every day to go, okay, how could this be done differently? How could this be done better? I'm going to carve out 20 minutes or 2 hours on the weekends to go learn about a new thing so that I can show up better and stronger for myself and for my team. And I think we talk so much about AI. We talk so much about how it's changing everything and the opportunity in front of us, but we really need to hold the mirror up. I do as well, and go, what am I doing to make sure I'm using it for myself?
Yes.
And I'm encouraging and supporting my teams to be using it as well. I think that's one of the biggest things as we think about looking into Microsoft's new fiscal year. There's so much opportunity with Agentic AI. But we can spend all day talking about how are we going to build it into our offerings and roll it out to our customers. Yeah. But what are we doing inside of our own houses to build agents and to use Agentic AI to not just enable ourselves to do things better, faster, cheaper, but to do things differently?
And I think we're at a cusp of a moment here with Agentic AI, right? We talked about AI now it's going back to 22, 23 when it first hit, ChatGPT, and then Copilot. But we kind of, we sat back a little bit because we were getting criticized because the CFO wasn't seeing the benefit. They weren't seeing the 30% drop in cost out of their business from it.
Yeah.
We expected too much too soon.
Yeah.
I feel like we're at a moment now where things are going to really accelerate. And a lot of conversation yesterday with NVIDIA and Sandy Gupta talking about Agentic AI.
Good.
I think we have more conversation today with partners.
Good.
Talking about how they're applying Agentic AI into their businesses, cutting cost, improving efficiencies, and creating better outcomes.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so much of it, again, is what are you doing inside of your own businesses with your sales org, your marketing org, your engineering teams, your product teams, and making sure that from the top down, you have champions driving that change and momentum for internal technical intensity, as well as what are you bringing to market and how are you creating those differentiators.
What I heard you say, too, is we need to look in the mirror. Right?
Yeah.
That was your exact
Literally
words.
those, yeah.
And we need to apply it. We can't just sit on the sidelines and kind of watch it go by because it's happening so fast, right? We're here and it's going to be there before a day goes by.
Yeah. And I think we can't just sit in our companies and expect that our customers are going to adopt it and tell our customers why it's so great and how to adopt it when we're not adopting it ourselves. So I think it starts in our own houses, if you will.
Yes.
And that's how we create energy around it. Because when we can see, oh my gosh, we built an agent that's able to do this thing for me that we never were able to do before, we get excited about it. And our customers will see that excitement and energy. So I think it starts with us.
Well, and you were leading a company that was a leader in Azure and migrations and all of that, and brought it to a large GSI where you had to basically train. There was a lot of change management bringing that organization to the same level that you were before.
Yeah.
What do you do internally now at Microsoft on helping them look in the mirror, I guess? Is there like a set of instructions we need to think about for our companies? Like what do we need to go do with our organizations to get them to that next level?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think Satya, going back to Satya again, a couple of things that he has talked about a lot over the years is creating energy and driving clarity. That is a lot of where it comes from, honestly, Vince, I think, is just being able to identify even the motion or the movement around technical intensity inside of my organization and our broader Americas team, looking at how can we get everyone excited about the impact that technical intensity will drive. So it's creating the energy, but then it's also creating clarity on what does that actually mean. We can talk a lot about it, but practically speaking, what should I go do as an employee or as a leader or as an executive to go myself be technically intense, and also encourage my teams to do the same thing.
And your business is traditionally marketing, go-to-market, which generally is not as technically intense, right?
Yes, but, well, some might argue
it has changed over the years.
that from a go-to-market perspective, we should be the beacon of technical intensity because it's creating clarity and it's creativity, it's content scale, engagement,
And the technology has changed rapidly, right? I go back in the old days of marketing, we didn't even know what the outcomes were.
Yeah.
And then we layered in Marketo and Iloqua and some of those technologies. Now marketing is really the science, the data science.
Absolutely. It is the perfect art and science of a great go-to-market strategy.
So for everyone watching us today, everybody watching on the live stream and the recordings of this, what are the 3 things that you think, like we're going into this moment? And I think when we get to our October event, so much will have changed already.
Yes.
Like we'll be ready for that next iteration.
Yeah.
But during this moment, between now and then, what should the organizations, the partners in the room that want to be the ultimate partner, how do they move forward and what should they do in this next quarter within their own businesses?
All right. Well, first you heard the technical intensity message. So just that kind of overarches everything else, I think, from my perspective, is making sure that you're creating a culture and you're holding up the mirror personally on what you're doing. But if I were to say, what are those 3 things? The 3 things I always come back to are, what are you doing to build with, sell with, and market with Microsoft? And I have been in so many different organizations and have worked with so many different Microsoft partner companies over the years that are really strong at 1 or 2 of those things. I am a firm believer that where the magic happens is when those 3 things come together. So as an organization, if you're in the marketing side of the business, make sure that you're looking across sales and engineering or delivery. If you're in the sales, do the same. Engineering, do the same. It's not enough to just be great at selling with Microsoft. It's not enough to just be great at building solutions that are landing in the marketplace that are showing up well there. And it's not enough to just be marketing, using the Microsoft resources and kind of snapping in with Microsoft. I think when the magic happens is when those 3 things happen. So my feedback or advice would be for partners as you're starting to get kind of towards the end of Microsoft fiscal year and planning towards the new, take a couple of steps back and evaluate inside of your organizations, do I have a clear leader or clear strategy around how are we going to approach selling with, marketing with, and building with Microsoft? And how can I make sure those 3 strategies and or leaders are coming together like a braid? So
important. You touched on the 3 of the biggest areas. And I'll just comment back because I've worked across a lot of these organizations over the years. The 99.99% do not get that. And those 3 organizations generally, the engineering or product organization, the marketing organization, the sales organization, let alone the partner organization that's managing the relationship, they don't talk to one another.
I know.
They don't do a good job. And I think to your point, you've got to get good at all 3 of those sets of disciplines. You need to have internal communication. And then the way you show up with Microsoft in a way that you're demonstrating, this is how we're addressing each of these areas. And to your point, like how do I get better at the flywheel on each of these? Right?
That's it. That's right. Yep.
And I'm sure you did this because you led a top company.
Yeah. Well, and this is for a couple of my roles over the years. My title was Chief Growth Officer, and we kind of came up with that many years ago. It wasn't very common the first time I put that on my business card, if you will. And what it really was for me at the core is how are you looking across all three of those areas in a way that's strategically designed to drive growth. But they all do need to be interconnected.
Yeah. So let's talk. I'm double click a little bit on the role because I don't know if every partner in the room or watching really understands that how your organization is focused.
Yep.
What is the value you bring and work with partners to drive? Because it does drive a lot on the demand side, but it also drives into the co-selling, which we spent a lot of time on yesterday. But take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, sure, great. I loved how you introduced the role as it relates to our worldwide organization, and then we have the Americas team. And my role and the teams in my organization specifically are our go-to-market strategy leaders and teams who are working with partners, sometimes one-on-one, one-to-many, helping land scaled type motions with a lot of partners. And so what might be helpful is for me to just take a couple of steps back and start by mentioning there are 165,000-ish partners in the Americas. So there's a lot of partners in the Americas. So of course my team is not large enough to personally spend time with all 165,000 partners. So we work really hard to be strategic and thoughtful about how can we create energy and programs and leverage the great assets that Worldwide is building and try to scale those so those 165,000 partners can snap into what matters most to them or what will be helpful resources for them from a sales enablement, marketing, technical enablement, leveraging different programs and getting involved with different channels and so forth.
And then you align partners to solution plays. I know that's a big factor of the business. And then I also know you do a lot on co-selling. Like your teams are really responsible.
We do.
Getting literally taking the Microsoft side and the partner side and getting them in a room to have a meaningful conversation about co-selling.
That's exactly right. I think the Americas team in the Americas is where the rubber hits the road. So that's where the magic happens on the ground with the Microsoft sellers and with our partners and the partner sellers working with customers.
And I don't know if everybody realizes, if you've been inside Microsoft, as I have in New York, you realize how global an organization it is.
Yes.
You go to a Microsoft event and people were in their company colors and like 220 subsidiaries and all that. But Microsoft Americas is more than 45% of the overall business at Microsoft.
Yes, it is. So it's a big part of the overall business. And I will say one thing as a partner, I think I worked a long time with a lot of different people at Microsoft. And once or twice I had the impression of, do they not talk to each other? Once or twice.
Only once or twice.
And I understand now because it's complicated and big, and there's a lot of different people touching the same partner ecosystems and communities, and so we do our best to create clarity and simplify. And I think a lot of the changes that you heard Nicole talk about yesterday and what you'll see coming as we get closer and closer to the end of fiscal is really Microsoft taking some big, bold steps towards how can we even better clarify and simplify how our partners are working with us, making it easier. And it's hard. It's complicated.
Hard.
You know, it's complicated to do.
We had some sessions yesterday, workshops going on, and we talk about brand and story being so important.
Yes,
Because I'm a Microsoft seller, and I've got thousands of partners beating on my door, literally want meetings with me. And why are you different? Like, why are you relevant to me, right? So I know that your team spends a lot of time on this. But it is a critical piece to these organizations. They need to stand out. They need to differentiate. They need to add value. They need to understand how to align. We talked about MSEM a little bit. We'll talk about MSEM again today. But I do think that there's an incredible set of skills from top partners. And we'll have some of them up on stage here as well today to talk through it. But just incredible things. So I'm just thrilled to have you on stage with us today.
It's great to be here.
We could spend the entire day, you and I, talking about the business. There's a lot of things I want to ask you, but I know we're at the end of fiscal year.
Yep.
And I know there's a lot of change coming. There's the MCAP Start program is only another month and a half, 2
Yeah, I
months
know
away.
it'll be here before we know it. Yeah.
Anything you could signal to this audience that you can say in public that won't get you in too much trouble?
Here's what I will signal very clearly. I am very excited and optimistic, and this is not a scripted message from Lori. I'm very excited and optimistic about what's to come.
Nice.
Again, some of what we've seen already is Microsoft taking some great big steps towards adding clarity and simplification to get closer to our customers and make it easier for us to partner with our partners. So we're gonna continue to
I love
strive
it. I
towards
can't
that.
wait to see some of the announcements and hear more from you on
And partners
some of
at the
that.
center of it, man. Center of it, man.
I love
yeah,
it.
partners
I love
at the
it. I
center
love
of it.
it.
Yeah,
So good to have you here today.
it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
I would probably want to open it up to questions, but we're not set up to do that. But if people want to reach out and they have questions, what's the best way that they can communicate with your team?
That's a good question. You can always ping me on LinkedIn, and you can connect with me there, absolutely. Connecting with my team, one of the things I will give a plug for is our Partner Hub, our America's Partner
Very
Hub.
nice.
So if you're not already connected there, be sure to connect there. That's where we post a lot of upcoming activities and resources and so forth. So be sure that you're connected there.
Very good.
Yeah.
Partner Hub.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori. I really appreciate you
You
coming
bet.
this morning, starting us
Yes,
off.
you bet.
Getting us moving in the right direction, too. And so great to have you.
Thank you.
So good to
Should
spend
I just
time
take
with
the
you.
pillow with me? No, I'm
Absolutely.
kidding.
Anytime. You can take it. We'll send it. Team, we need to send a pillow. Lori's address, home address, please.
yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Vince.
Lori. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ultimate Guide to Partnering. We're bringing these episodes to you to help you level up your strategy. If you haven't yet, now's the time to take action and think about joining our community. We created a unique place, UPX, or Ultimate Partner Experience, where leaders come to learn from each other. It's more than a community, it's your competitive edge. With insider insights, real-time education, and direct access to people who are driving the ecosystem forward, UPX helps you get results. And we're just getting started. We've got big plans for you this summer, as we're taking this studio and we'll be hosting live stream and digital events here, and it's all coming to you soon. So visit our website, theultimatepartner.com, to learn more and join us. Now's the time to take your partnerships to the next level.